Hey, hey, what's up, everybody? Am I live? Am I live? How's everybody doing? Here, give me a second. Let me change. I don't want that. I gotta change something real quick. Let's go. Of course, Mrs. Urban calls right when I start my live. Yes, dear, I am live right now. How are you? All right, she told me to meet your asses, so give me 2 minutes, fellas. Aha! I remembered to unmute so that y'all can hear me now. Sorry about that. Mrs. Urban's on her way home, stopping at Wally World. She's gonna brave the madness at Wally World. Asked if there was anything, if I could remember if there was anything specifically that we needed, and I know nothing. So I told her to call her daughter, the oldest kid. I was like, "Leave me alone. I'm live." But hey, what's up, y'all? I know that many of you are wanting to know the story about how I almost chopped off my foot. We will get there, I promise. But first, let's say hey to everybody that's here. We got Marco in the house. What's up, Marco? Bluminati Ninja, how you doing, man? How you doing? Yes, Marco, I am late as per usual. Um, I had to pull a Stevie and go number two. So my bad. Sorry, not sorry. Um, here's one of the beers that I picked up. Local beers, somewhat local beers. Um, when we were on our trip up in northwesternish North Carolina, Western North Carolina. Um, we'll talk more about that in a little bit, but that's kind of one thing that the Mrs. Urban and I like to do when we go to our little mountainy towns and do our little mini vacations. We like to hit up the wineries and the breweries and the distilleries. Get our samples of whiskey and beer and wine. See what's out there, see what people are making for local stuff. Uh, we really enjoy that because you get to meet some of the besides the knife community, you really do meet some of the nicest people, I mean, whether they're buzzed or not, uh, in these little small mountain town places. So it's a lot of fun. See, Bushcraft rebooted. What's up? Burnt Relics here. Good to see you. Good to see you. Don't bail on me. I know I'm usually a couple minutes late. I'm very rarely on time, and I'm pretty much never early. uh, and I've got an excuse every single time, don't I? Don't I? Yes, I do. I've got an excuse. Almost pretty much always have an excuse. Neil, what's up? Dang Ross, how are you? How are you? Where's B&A? B&A's running late too. He's usually it takes him about another 15-20 minutes sometimes before he's off of work and home and shows up to my lives. But yeah, so this was a where was this one? Where was this beer made? It's a Yeti Imperial Stout, so it's a darker beer. Aged for 12 months in whiskey barrels from our friends and Denver neighbors at Law's Whiskey House. So this wasn't really made local. It's made in Denver, Colorado, but I picked it up at a local brew house. And then I got another one. Oh shoot! Hold on, let me grab the bottle so I can show you. Some of you here in the southeast might have seen them. I already talked to Mom. Go away. The Bear Waters Brewing Company. And since I'm a lager person, this is their lager that they call On the DL. DL for down low, if you don't already know what that is. But they are made, let's see, I believe they're in North Carolina. Yeah, they're in Canton, North Carolina, wherever the hell that is. Again, some little mountain town in western North Carolina. But yeah, this was a pretty decent beer. It was I would say this one is similar to somewhat similar to your Yingling. Yeah, so it's like a medium lager, almost on the light side, and then this one's a stout, so it's rather dark and more heavy, which I like for the wintertime. I absolutely like for the wintertime. All right. I'm sorry. I'm trying to wait for B&A to come in here before I tell you guys the story about my foot. But anyways, so the family and I, we went for New Year's. Basically, we went for a little vacation just to get out of our freaking crappy ass beach town and get our hearts back up to the mountains for some little R&R mountain feel. Oh, dang. I can text them too. Shit, I always forget that I have some of y'all actually were brave enough to give me your phone numbers. Some of y'all are idiots. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, B&A's one of them that I have his phone number. I also have Stevie's number, but I've learned not to annoy him. I pretty much don't bother Stevie, and of course I have Bearded Doom Kevin's number. He chats with me on occasion, but he's always really busy with his daughter and his family, so I try not to bug him. I'm gonna text him. I'm live, mofo. Why ain't you here? There he is. There he is. He's in the chat. Dang, dang, Ross, you beat me to him. You beat me to him. I'm still sending him this text. I'm still sending you the text. B&A, Patrick, bad boy. You weren't here before me. You're almost always in the chat before I'm even starting the live. You must have had a busy Friday. Okay, so now B&A's here. Let me tell you what happened with my poor damn foot. So if you didn't see it on Instagram, I will shows you. I will shows you because I posted it up on Instagram. All right. So there is my poor old foot banged up with the boot that I was wearing that I sliced through with the Cold Steel Trail Boss axe. It's basically a boy's axe. That's one of my favorite axes that I own. They're insanely inexpensive for a really high quality axe. I mean, it's Cold Steel. If you don't know Cold Steel, they make really good stuff at relatively reasonable prices. For the most part, very reasonable prices. So I actually have brought home the boot because I'm gonna try to do a glue up job and let these just be my at home work boots type boots. Yep, that's the goal. But yeah, went right through the freaking thing and into my foot. And I don't want to gross y'all out or get y'all. No, see, Mrs. Urban, I'm not. I was just about to say this. I'm not gonna gross y'all out with what my foot looks like, what the cut looks like, but essentially is between those last couple of toes, not my pinky toe, but the two next to it. And so what happened essentially, long story short, because it shouldn't be a long story, but I always make things long story. No, I'm not showing them my foot. That's disgusting. That's gross. They won't come back. So we were at the cabin that home that we were renting as an Airbnb, and there's not even any blood, Mrs. Urban. Hush. Go do your Walmart shopping and leave the rest of us alone. So at the Airbnb, the kids wanted to do campfire to roast some marshmallows. It's like 28 degrees outside that night, and we were getting snow the next day, and they're still wanting to do a damn campfire. So I'm like, all right, it's late, and we had already had a long day of going out and doing other stuff in the small towns, going in the touristy souvenir shops and whatnot and checking things out. So I go to make the fire, and Suburban helped me collect a bunch of kindling, all your small twigs and branches and stuff, and we were snapping those up and breaking those down. He loves doing that with me. He's almost 8 years old. Urban two-toe woodsman. that might be, well, that's a little long, but I like it, Neil. I like it. So I went to cut, and there were some logs that were there from, I guess, the last time somebody had a fire in their little fire ring next to the cabin there. But the one of the logs, I felt like looking at it, and it's like pitch black on that side of the cabin, and all I had was just one little lantern light, so I didn't have the greatest view of this particular log that I pulled out of the fire ring. But apparently this log, not to my knowledge, was like completely frozen solid. I guess they had rain and a little bit of sleetish snow stuff a handful of days before we got there. And so, not unknowing to me, this log, the center of it, the bulk of it, was just completely iced solid. And like the dumbass that I was, with not knowing that information and not able to really tell, I went and sat it up on a stump that they had there by the fire ring, and I went to split it with my little axe. And sure enough, what happened was, when you hit something that hard, that solid, like ice rock solid, it is not gonna split. That stuff, when wood gets penetrated like that, and frozen like that, those things are not going to split. Not with the hand axe, at least. So, sure enough, the axe ricocheted off the top of it, and the chunk of log went flying, and I believe broke one of the little plastic Adirondack chairs that they had around the fire ring. But so it ricocheted, the axe ricocheted off the log went flying, and down at an awkward angle, the axe went right onto my foot. Like, it was not something other than deciding not to split a log. There was really nothing that I had done wrong. And I had proper stance. Normally, like splitting wood, if you miss the log or it has a small ricochet, you hit, catch the edge of it or whatever. The axe is going to go straight down between your legs. It's not going to jump way off to the side like it did. So, fortunately, it was not enough. It was not deep enough. I guess the having been wearing leather boots and not like tennis shoes or running shoes, or the trail shoes that I had brought up there. If I had had my trail shoes, my trail running shoes on that I brought with me that I drive in because they're the most comfortable, that I would have damn near cut my foot in half and would have been absolutely going to the emergency room. So I was lucky that I was wearing those boots with the good leather to help ease how far the axe went in. But at the same time, they were, I mean, they're not a brand new pair of boots, but like they were just well broken in. Like I've had those boots for not even 2 years. Not even 2 years. And yeah, about a year and a half or so. And it sucks because those boots had at least another 2 to 2.5 years of wear left in them. Like they were a good pair of boots, and I totally ruined one of them. Totally ruined one of them. So yeah, so I went into the cabin and asked the wife to go get the first aid kit and give me a hand with gauzing it, cleaning it and gauzing it up, and then and I forgot to take a picture of it. But then I called my dad and to ask him, like, does it matter? Because I couldn't in the moment I couldn't remember, and I didn't want to bother looking it up, but I ended up looking it up. Neosporin versus triple antibiotic. Now, I don't know how y'all feel about it, but which one is better? Which one is better for a clean, straight cut like that? Does anybody have a preference? Neosporin versus triple antibiotic? Oh, hey, Dawn. You just missed the axe in the foot story. Just missed it. You'll have to go back and watch the last 4 minutes. But oh, Bushcraft, you're live at 8? Cool. Maybe we'll hop in for just a little bit at the end of mine. So, B&A, you're a fan of Neosporin? I've always been leaned more towards triple antibiotic. We pretty much always buy and stock up and have plenty of triple antibiotic. Dawn's like Neosporin and duct tape. But yeah, so that happened that night, and we were planned to get snow the next day, and felt like that would be the most fun day with the snow effect going on, to also do our snowboarding and snow skiing at the ski lodge that was up there. So that's what we did. And sure enough, I just bandaged my foot up real good and put my warm thick socks on and shoved it into the ski boot and went snowboarding. And I promise you, despite what the pictures show, I have absolutely no business being on a snowboard. I just I'm not good at all at snowboarding. Terrible, 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 terrible. I was part of the crowd of all the people that kept falling over. I was one of the ones to be laughed at, and and yeah, it's just not good. My body is still recovering from the aches and pains from that day on that mountainside with that stupid snowboard. Yes, exactly, BNA. I'd be good at human snowboard bowling. Well, actually, let me count. I only took 4 people. I only wiped out and ran into 4 people. And then I had 2 people run into me. So I'd say in 5 hours that was pretty good. That wasn't too bad. Yes, the little video snippet that I posted on Instagram, that was of me doing a short little run where I pretty much went right into Mrs. Urban. I went right into her. Um, it scared the shit out of her, but we had some good laughs. It was fun. I tell you, snow skiing is absolutely easier than snowboarding. Absolutely easier. And I kind of, part of me wished that I had gone with the skis instead of the board, but at the same time, board looks cooler. You look more like a hot shot when you're on a board versus the skis. The skis are kind of have that stereotype of being, kind of for the pansies and for the girls. The cool dudes, do the boards. So yeah, I fell for that one and grabbed a board instead of skis. I would have been much better off with skis. Actually, probably would have looked half decent going on skis. You think so? Really? That's interesting. See, I know not that water skiing is completely different from snow skiing, which is completely different from roller or skateboarding is completely different from surfing, which is completely different from snowboarding. You think they kind of sort of have the same concepts, and they obviously all need similar sets of skills as far as balance goes, but they are all quite different. They are definitely different from each other enough to where you can't say, well, if you're good at water skiing, you should be good at snow skiing. If you're good at skateboarding, you should be good at snowboarding and surfing. It's just, it doesn't, that's not the case. You would think so, but it's not. They're absolutely, each one of those activities has enough differences between them and require a different set of skills, and a few different muscle groups are being used in each of them. So yeah, there is a learning curve to every single one of these. And I can confidently say that because I've done all those things. I've done water skiing. I'm actually really good at water skiing, which is surprising. But I'm pretty darn good at water skiing. And I'm decent at surfing. It takes me forever. It takes me almost a week. If you were at Blade Show with me last year and you saw me on that itty bitty micro skateboard, that thing sucked. That thing was a pain in the ass. It was, as far as skateboard designs go, it was terrible. It looked cool. It was great being so compact with the handles that I made built into it to carry it around with me at the show. But as far as being able to board on it, is a terrible design. The axles are way too close together. It was very, very squirrely. It was extremely challenging to use that thing. It served its purpose. It was definitely useful, getting from point A to point B a whole lot quicker without having to do all that walking. But it was definitely a challenge to ride that damn thing. It really, really was a really tiny skateboard. But then I've also done surfing, and I'm okay at that, or at least I was. I probably suck worse now that I'm older and fatter and just don't. I'm not 19 anymore, you know. That was kind of how I felt with the snowboarding and skateboarding. Is just like I realize I'm not a 17, 18, 19-year old anymore. Like, just my age and my little bit of weight gain and everything has just definitely settled in, and I can't quite do those things that require you to have such balance and agility and flexibility. I just don't have that anymore, and I've got to accept that. It sucks getting old, but I've got to accept that I can't do those things as well as I used to when I was way younger. See what 20 years does. Yeah, you think so? Um, let's see. Yeah, the first. I mean, as far as surfing and waves goes, I mean, obviously as a kid, going to the beach all the time down here, in Brunswick, Georgia, out to St. Simons and Jekyll Island, um, bodyboarding, boogie boarding, whatever you want to call it. That as a little kid, that's how you learned how to time the waves and figure out, how to catch the waves and ride it the right way and everything. So you learn that. I learned that. Had plenty of years of learning that, and then once I got to getting onto a surfboard when I was like 15, 14, 15. It was in Hawaii, but it was on one of the beaches that was like not for like real surfboarders. It was like the beginner's beach, the I don't know what the hell I'm doing beach, and so I would say that the waves that I was catching were probably about 4 to 5 foot waves, for the most part. There might have been a sixer in there every once in a while, but yeah, then when I got to California, when I got stationed in California off the coast of San Diego there, uh, on the beaches there, that was fun. Going up to La Jolla Beach, which is on the north side of San Diego, and then Oceanside, which is north of La Jolla. Those beaches, you could get some good 6, 7, 8 foot waves, and that was pretty gnarly. That was pretty gnarly. Um, I am much better doing the camping, backpacking, and mountain biking, and a little bit of whitewater kayaking in my older years now. Now that I'm getting towards middle age, uh, than than doing all those other things that requires again that flexibility and the agility. Um, I'm more of a like go with the flow, not requiring quite so much strenuous activities, physical demand. Yeah. Actually, I was just using hydrogen peroxide and rubbing alcohol, so um, we've got plenty of that. We have plenty of that at home at the house here. Yeah, actually, if you do the research, Mrs. Urban is right, and she's only right because I told her that. Because when I informed her that hydrogen peroxide and rubbing alcohol is is pretty much not good for cuts, for wounds. It's fine for scrapes and scratches, but it's not good for actual wounds. If you look it up, basically the reason why is because um, it actually damages some of the skin cells right there in the wound. Of course, it's going to clean it out, and if you're in, out away, ways away from home or whatever, and that's all you got, then by all means. But the best thing to actually clean out wounds is just cold water, cold water, and a little bit of soap. Just a little bit of either hand soap or dish soap. Preferably the dish soap that's antibacterial. And just a little bit of soapy cold water is the absolute best thing for cleaning out wounds. Um, and then load it up with either the triple antibiotic or the Neosporin as your antibiotic creams to help fight infection and prevent infection. But for actual wounds, for actual cuts and deep wounds, you do not want to damage any of that tissue. And hydrogen peroxide and rubbing alcohol will and can do that to a small amount. So if that's all you got in the pinch, fine. Just go easy on it. Very little, just enough to flush any dirt or debris or whatever out of your wound. But the best thing to do is just use cold water with just the tiniest little bit of soap. Just to flush out whatever stuff might be in have possibly gotten on it or in it, and then just load it up with antibacterial cream. So look it up. If you don't believe me, look it up. Look it up. WebMD it, whatever doctor website that you like to use. That's pretty much you go to 5 or 6 different sources. They'll all tell you basically the same thing. So, but along with the damage to my foot, again, I got super freaking lucky. It's really not that deep. And it's healing fairly well. It will take another week roughly before I can go without covering or bandaging it up. So I'm taking it easy, trying to not walk very much on it, and just give it the best opportunity over the next 4 to 7 days to heal well. But yeah, I got super lucky that I didn't cut through a tendon. I have full movement still. It was not deep enough to warrant going to the emergency room to get stitches, because I don't know, and I don't think Mrs. Urban and we didn't even bother to look it up, because we just wrote it off, and it's like we're not going to be able. Like, it was a guaranteed 40 minutes probably to a hospital, to an emergency room where somebody could do any stitches. Luckily, it was not quite deep enough that warranted that kind of medical attention. What I did was just fine for it. So very, very, very lucky, very, very fortunate that it was not worse than it was. But so that was that night. Then we went snowboarding and snow skiing the next day. And little Suburban, this little dude, what a champ. He was on skis, and he just, like, his first run was his second run was pretty good. His third run down the hill was impressive, and I got a little short video clip of him going down that on that third run, and I was just like, holy smokes, dude, that is awesome. Like, he just kept going, had great balance, and just had a blast. Just went a long ways all the way down all the way down. And I was so proud and so happy for him, and just so thrilled that he was having a good time. And because when we started off, I took him over to another little like a little kiddie type beginners area, and had him just get a feel for it. Helped him to taught him how to click his boots into the skis, and then detach them, and he got used to having to walk around and everything in those boots, which are a little weird because of the way the bottoms are made so that they click into the skis. So if you've never worn something like that, then it's got that learning curve. So I got him comfortable with it, and at first he was like getting frustrated, and I was like, look, dude, it's just a matter of doing it. You just got to keep doing it, and you'll slowly get the hang of it, and it'll be all right. Once you get up to the top of the hill and start going down, and he's got great balance. He's got excellent balance. Hold on. There you go. Walmart, of course, doesn't have the creamer that I like for my coffee. Whatever. But yeah, so Suburban did fantastic, and then the poor kid, like once he got good at it and was just having a blast, and massive smile on his face, and I was so happy for him. His gloves that he had, the winter gloves that he had, were the ones that are cut off at the fingers, but then have the mitten fold over, the little part that folds over to make him look like he's wearing mittens. Excellent gloves for just normal cold weather, but not good for the snow. Same with mine. I've got my gloves that I have. Oh, actually, I'll grab them real quick. They're right here. Exact same style. I absolutely love these gloves. These are fantastic when it's cold outside, but not when it snows. So the problem is that when it snows, these wool gloves that are lined with fleece on the inside, and they're mittens. So they turn into mittens, and you just have your thumb there. But then they fold back and they expose your fingers. Allows you some dexterity with your digits. So, like tying your shoes or knots or whatever, opening packages or whatever. I absolutely love these for camping and just for normal outdoor cold wear. But because they're wool on the outside, they get all gunked up with the snow. All the snow and the icy mushy stuff, just these things get totally covered and coated with that, and then they start to not work very well, because the heat of your hand melts the snow, but with how freezing cold outside it is, it kind of tries to keep it frozen at the same time from the outside, and so you get like this slushy, icy mush like covered around your hands, and it start gets to the point where it does not keep your hands very warm anymore unless you keep them clean. You got to keep the snow and the shit off of them. But so Suburban, his weren't wool like mine. His were just fleece, complete fleece, and they did the same thing, had the same problem. And he just had they just got accumulated so much snow, so much ice. By the time he wanted to do one more run, he was so happy with the last time where I had where I had recorded him on my phone. So the last run he went to go do, he rode the thing up to the top, and about halfway down, he wiped out, fell over, and one of his skis came off, and then one of the guys working at the slope at the resort there, went over and helped him, and yeah, like he came down and his fingers were frozen cold, and his gloves were completely iced over. Like there was no way that they were going to keep his hands warm anymore, and we were just like, you're done, bud. It's time to go anyways. So I felt really bad for him because you always hope that these kids they have that one last good run that leaves such a positive impression and such a good memory for them. And unfortunately, he didn't get that. He should have quit with the run before. But that's okay. He's like me. He's very optimistic, and just takes everything negative with a grain of salt as just a little bit of a learning experience, and just keep pushing forward. And that's all you can do. That's the best way to approach life, and at least in my opinion. um, but yeah, so next time we do anything like that, next time we go anywhere where we're definitely gonna be dealing with snow, we're definitely gonna have to get the gloves that have that waterproof solid outside shell that sheds the snow and doesn't hold it onto the gloves like the gloves that we have. Gotta get the gloves that are made for dealing with snow in the future. Really, dang, Ross. How many inches or feet did you get? Yeah, and that's the other thing is a number. Mrs. Urban rented out a number of the snow bib pants. Unfortunately, I already had a pair for me, and I had a pair for Suburban that I had gotten years ago for my older son Cody when I was taking him on a couple of backpacking camping trips in really really cold weather. One of the times that where we were up in the very very north uh, Georgia, Tennessee, Carolina line. When I took him backpacking when he was like 7 or 8 years old, we did see snow, a little bit of snow on our last day, and so it paid off having those pants for him. And then since Riley Suburban grew into them, he was able to use them on this trip. But so that worked out that Urban and Suburban were set with winter gear. We were set with winter gear for our snowboarding and snow skiing trip. The other kids, not quite so much. Had to rent some helmets and some snow bib pants, and they did okay. They survived. Yeah, B&A. Speaking of, look, it has literally, like, for the last 24 hours, well, 18 hours. I think our high today was like 33 or 34. But I am literally about 35 to 40 minutes from the Florida line. So I'm practically in Florida, right? I'm less than an hour from Florida. And I should not be dealing with this freezing cold weather. Literally 35 miles away from the Florida line. And over the last 30 hours, it has not gotten above 35 degrees. What the hell? You northerners need to get your asses down here and pick up this freaking cold ass weather and take that shit back up north with y'all. What is wrong with y'all? This is not right. This is all wrong. We are not supposed to be this cold this far south. We're just not. We're not cut out for this shit down here. It's been terrible. This last day and a half has just been awful with like and I had a shit storm yesterday at work with all these people complaining about coming into the office and calling me on the phone complaining about how this hasn't been fixed and that hasn't been fixed. And it's like, that's because nobody, construction wise, wants to go out there when it's 27 degrees outside to get anything done. They're not used to it being that cold. To do any kind of construction work, to do any kind of maintenance work. Concrete, forget it. Concrete ain't happening right now. We've got two communities that have some concrete issues that they've been meaning to have done, wanting to have done over the last 3 weeks, and it's like we can't do concrete down here when it's below 35 degrees for more than 4 hours. Just there's no sense in trying to do that when you can just wait another couple of weeks when it gets warm again. Yeah, right? It sucks. And these poor kids, these kids that we have, the ones that came from Texas that have spent the last handful of years in Texas. And and granted, even their little Texas towns, they get a little bit of cold, but they have no experience. These kids have no experience with not just going outside in sub-freezing temperatures in below 40 degrees, and just being out there for an entire day. They have no idea what it's like to do that. And they suffered. They suffered over during our trip. They realized in the moment, of course, that moment's gone and passed, and they don't give a shit no more. And they'll make the same mistake again because they're stupid like that when it comes to that. But during our trip, like on the most of those days, they were complaining when we were outside for the majority of the day, and they had to endure that cold for the majority of the day. They were bitching and moaning and complaining and griping and whining, and and we were like, we told you so. It was totally one of those we told you so moments. And yet, it's sad that history's doomed to repeat itself. They're gonna talk shit again the next time we plan a trip during the winter time when it's cold. They're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm fine wearing shorts and a hoodie." Like, you dumbasses. They talk so much crap. I got the 5 kids that I have. Suburban's almost 8 years old. He'll be 8 years old beginning of February. The rest of them are all 13 to 16. And like 5 kids between the ages of 13 and 16. You should be amazed that I don't drink more than I do. You really should. It's absolutely insane. It feels like chaos in our house almost all the time when they're all here. And it's like COVID killed the whole fact of like I don't know about y'all, but I remember when I was a kid, like I was over at a friend's house, or I had a friend over at my house, and like that we were always over at other people's houses, running amok for other parents to deal with. Like, I wasn't always home, so my parents didn't have to deal with me all the damn time. So much I was over at somebody else's house. I even had a friend growing up where, because we were both playing baseball and we were both in scouts, and we both went to the same high school, and I think a couple of years we had a class together at one point in time or another during one semester. So we were around each other all the time. So there were times where I'd spend during the school week, I'd spend 2 or 3 nights at his house just because it was easier. It was easier. He would drive the both of us to school. We'd go through our day, do our things, and then I mean, the both of us were going to scouts or baseball games or baseball practice or whatever. And so we were always going to the same places almost all the time. So it was just easier for me to just tag along with him and crash at his house with his family than it was to go home to my family because my parents had to deal with my younger brother with all the random stuff that he was doing, with all the different things that he was involved in and all the different directions that he was going were totally opposite of what I was doing. So it just worked out so much easier. Nowadays, I feel like, since COVID, kids don't spend the nights, they don't camp out on the weekends, and especially not during the week, and other homes with other families. They just don't do it. They are just all hunker down and stay home, whether they want to or not. And it's just like it's a totally different, way of life with these generations, with the kids that we have now versus when we were kids. Yeah, I mean that's just my experience, but yeah. Rant over, rant over. um yeah. So Mrs. Urban wants me to move along with our trip and the other events that occurred. So not only along with my foot and along with the failure in gloves for little suburban poor kid, but then once it snowed that day, the Airbnb that we rented was up the mountainside by about 3 miles off of the main road. And it said in the description describing the Airbnb that you were going to have to travel on a dirt gravel road. It didn't specify how far. It did put in like a little disclaimer that you don't need 4-wheel drive, but if you have it, it's gonna help. Obviously, duh, right? So once we realized the first night that we got there, and we got there, and she even the host messaged Mrs. Urban and said, "Hey, we advise you to make it a little easier on yourselves. Arrive during the daytime if you can, rather than at night." And once we got to off the main road onto that gravel dirt road, we totally understood why she said that. This was like almost 3.5 miles of dirt road that didn't just wind around between the mountainside. This freaking road had plenty of ups and downs, and some of them were pretty freaking steep. I have driven through the mountains all over this country and on plenty of dirt roads, and this one was definitely probably in the top 5 most challenging, for sure. Definitely in the top 5 or 6, I would say. I would probably rank it as number maybe 4 or 5. I've been on some roads that were just a little bit more challenging, but this one was very challenging, and it had been a while since I've been on a road like that. So it was kind of like, oh shit, I remember how to deal with this, but at the same time, the Honda Pilot that we have, that Mrs. Urban uses as her daily driver, that she goes to over the last couple of school semesters for her nursing degree, for getting her going from her LPN to her RN, right? And plus back and forth to work from home to the island. All flat roads, all easy roads. Her tires, we discovered, were not in very good shape at all. Like, no, like bad. And this was not the time for me to realize that she had probably needed to have gotten new tires about 5 or 6 months ago. They were fine for normal paved roads, normal roads, but once we got onto some kind of terrain, it became clear as day how shitty these tires treads were. Like the shape that they were in was not good. Two of them are practically bald. Practically bald. Yeah. And that is the thing is once your tires get to that point where they're pretty much bald or almost bald, you ain't going very far at all. When those roads get any amount of slushy, icy, snowy type surface to them. Honestly, I think your brakes are still pretty darn good. I think your brakes are good. Your brakes seem to do fine. The problem was getting enough traction with the tires. So yeah. So let me tell you, like the foot story is nothing compared to this. The foot story is nothing compared to this. So that night after we were all exhausted from snowboarding and snow skiing, totally worn out from that, and we hadn't had dinner yet. It's like almost 7 o'clock at night, and like the oh shit factor of are we going to even be able to make it to the cabin was like starting to sink in at within a couple of seconds of turning on off of the main road onto this dirt gravel road, and I was like, oh crap. We got .8 miles, .8 miles, just a little more than 3/4 of a mile to the 3.5 that we had to get to the cabin. To where I got to a point where there was one steep climb part of this road that was just so iced up. Like the second that I opened the door and stepped onto the road, I started to slide down. Like even and I had some good treaded shoes on. The shoes that I was wearing that day, the boots. I had a different pair of boots that I had some lace up boots that I had worn that are like snow boots. Um, that I have that are nice and warm and have good tread on them. Even those were struggling to get grip on this road because there's enough icy, sludgy mess that coated this road at this point. And it was just like there's no way this car was going any further. Not with the tires that we had on it. Not with having 8 people in this damn car. So it sucked. It was terrible. What's up, Joseph? How you doing? So, um, I kind of like backed up and shifted the car over to the side of the road the best that I could, with being just a little bit nervous about it, like going down the mountainside, just a little bit. Because again, I've driven on roads like that. I've been in scenarios similar to that, but like only a handful of times, and it'd been many years since I've dealt with that kind of stuff. So I'm not very experienced. I understand what you got to do and how you're supposed to do it, but it's like watching a YouTube video versus actually getting out there and physically going through the motions. Totally night and day difference. Um, so I got the car, put the emergency parking brake on, told everybody, I'm sorry, y'all got to get out. We're gonna have to walk the rest of the way, the 2.25 miles or whatever it is, back up to the cabin. I gave them my good flashlight, the only flashlight that I have, which reminds me, well, it doesn't remind me. Like I've been actually looking on Amazon over the last handful of days. Uh, um, but I'd like to put a dedicated, strong, bright flashlight in that vehicle, in the trunk, in the little storage compartment in the trunk, so that there's another flashlight. Pretty much always have a flashlight on me whenever I go places, whenever I travel. but I just have the one. I don't have multiples. And so like in this scenario that we found ourselves in, I only had the one good flashlight to give to the Mrs. Urban and have her and the kids, start walking, and I stuck with the vehicle to try to get it back down, reverse it, and kind of carefully let it slide back down to where I could pull it into somebody else's driveway, so that it was not in the road. So, and it was therefore at that point then parked on a much more close to level surface, than being on the road, because on where we were at, it was a steep climb just before a turn. So I was like, and Mrs. Urban was more nervous about it than I was. She like, somebody coming down either late at night or early in the morning, thinking that they can make it down the mountain without crashing, might possibly end up crashing into our car, and like that would be even worse situation to deal with. Um, so I was able to manage to back it down and get it into somebody's driveway. It kind of blocked them in, but again, it's like nobody's fucking going nowhere unless you've got like serious off-road tread tires, or chains on your tires and four-wheel drive. Like that's how bad these roads were at this point, and that it would require that kind of a vehicle, that kind of a setup. So I let them walk ahead. I fixed the vehicle. I actually had a bag. Sure enough, it was my helmet bag, my motorcycle helmet bag. I know shit. I used this bag that came with my my full faced helmet. Empty cup. So I use this bag, which has backpack straps on it, to keep all of our snow pants and all of our winter gloves and everything. I packed everything into that and threw it in the back of the car. Um, when we went skiing that day, went to the ski resort that day, and so that was in the back of the car. So I threw a couple of the water bottles that the family had in there, and um, my little EDC bag, my little MacGyver bag that I have. That's where I pulled the flashlight out of. I threw that in there and some other things that I felt like we kind of needed and I wanted to have, um, that night and back at the cabin, and in the morning. So I threw a handful of that stuff in that bag and then locked the car up and started, walking up to the cabin. So I was probably about a half a mile behind them by the time I got started. They were a good solid half a mile, almost a mile ahead of me. And sure enough, sure enough, that part of that mountainside, navigation wise, on those gravel roads, Google Maps does not do the best of jobs, uh, for navigating. So there is supposedly Mrs. Urban. What's that app that the host, um, told you to download to give you that other navigation that enabled us to navigate to the cabin? Drop that if you can. The name of that app. But it was an app, navigation app that they had downloaded. Um, yeah, I think that's what it was. BNA, was it Waze or Wise or something like that? Um, yeah, Waze. Okay, so that's the app that it was, and sure enough, BNA knows. That shouldn't surprise me. Oh, hey, Dwayne. So yeah, so if you ever in the mountains, download that navigation app, the Waze, and use that rather than Google Maps. Well, Mrs. Urban had downloaded it on her phone, and I didn't bother downloading it on my phone because I felt like, it's family vacation. We always stick together on a family vacation. When we only have the one vehicle that we're traveling in, so every time we go in the car, we're going to be together. So I didn't feel the need to put another app on my freaking phone. I've got enough shit on my phone. So Mrs. Urban had it and I didn't. Well, since I gave her my good flashlight and sent her and the kids on their way and was at least a half a mile behind them, I didn't have that app and I couldn't remember the name of it. And I was too cold and frustrated and irritated by the whole situation to bother to download it then and there. But long point is I ended up taking a wrong turn. Came to a fork where it splits in 3 different directions. I went down the middle one when I should have gone down the left one. The kids and the wife went down the left one. I went down the middle one for about almost a mile and was like yelling out their names and trying to get their attention, like wondering, okay, why the hell? Because I was kind of for about a half a mile double timing it, like going much quicker pace than what they would be going with her and 3 girls, teenage girls. I would think were not moving very fast. But yeah, so like I got to a point where I was like, shit, I probably should have gone down the left road, not the center one. I've got to go back. And I was just about ready to turn back and start hauling ass to go back and go down the right road when a truck came up the road from the other direction. And sure enough, this freaking angel savior from heaven and this dude in this dually pickup truck. I couldn't tell you whether it's a Ford or a Dodge or a Chevy. I don't remember, but it was a dually, so he had the 4 wheels on the back and he had chains on his front tires, and it was a 4-wheel drive. It was a 4-wheel drive. And so like he was just charging it up the road without any troubles, and apparently he had another family that weren't able to make it up to their cabins that he was transporting to their place. And so I waved him down. It was a Chevy. Okay, it was a Chevy dually, probably a 3500 or something, one of the bigger ones that the dualies are. But yeah, so I bailed her. He helped take me back to my cabin, and was able to navigate in the right direction after I had figured out that I had gone in the wrong direction. But so I read in the bed of the pickup truck. He dropped off the other family at their cabin and then continued to my cabin. And on the way, we picked up Mrs. Urban and the rest of the kids. And surprisingly, they had made. I was impressed. They had made good time. They had covered quite a bit of ground. They were probably They were roughly about 3/4 of a mile from the cabin by the time I caught up to them, being in the pickup truck. And then our 2 older boys had gone ahead, which they really should not have done. But they went ahead and they were like another 1/4 of a mile ahead of them. So they were only about 1/4 of a mile away from the cabin. They were pretty darn close. But yeah, being an older Chevy Tahoe, like in the 2000s, was a good Chevy Tahoe. anything anything beyond 2012, not so great anymore. Just, everything's kind of just in the automotive industry has really gone in the wrong direction. I've I felt like for those of us who understand engines and understand vehicles, uh, as far as their performance goes, as far as their reliability goes, their durability goes, I feel like most brands have stopped listening to us and gone in the wrong direction. They really have. They've gone in the wrong direction. And that includes Toyota, which is really upsetting because I absolutely love the Toyota Tacoma. But since they decided to get rid of their inline V6, which has been an amazing, tried and true, durable, reliable engine for that truck for more than 2 decades, they went away from that and started putting in these 4 cylinders with turbos and whatever, things to amp it up and its um, torque and just like it's those are garbage engines. Anybody who drives a truck for the purpose of using a truck as a truck knows that those are crap engines. The V6s were gold. They were gold all day long. And yeah, for your Tundras and for any of your full size big trucks, the V8s was where it was at. And then they started putting V6s with turbos in those. And it's like, what the hell are you doing? They started paying attention too much to this younger, woke Western world that cares more about gas mileage consumption than they care about the vehicle's ability to do the jobs that the design of that vehicle is meant to do. Like if you're not going to use a truck for doing truck things, then don't buy the goddamn truck. Like literally, it's the right tool for the job type mindset. And these younger generations don't have that mindset. They just want the look. They just want the stature that comes with, oh, I'm a macho man because I've got a truck. Well, I'm sorry. If you got a tiny little 4 cylinder that can't spit out more than 140 horsepower, then that's a shit truck, and you're a dumbass for spending what you spent on that because it's not a good truck. It can't do truck things. If your towing capability isn't but 2,000 pounds and your payload can't go over 1,200 pounds, then that's not. There's what's the point in having the damn truck at that point? It's not a truck. It can't do truck things. But I mean, let me digress off of that. It's frustrating because I want my next vehicle. I want to be a truck, and I'm fighting that battle mentally on wanting a truck that can do truck things, that does truck stuff, that has that V6 with the reliability and the raw power and the durability that the V6 trucks have. But I don't want to pay $45, $55, $65,000 for one. So it's like, come on, vehicle industry, truck industry, y'all gotta get your shit together. The average American cannot afford a $700 vehicle payment these days. We just can't. Especially when you got 6 freaking kids, 6 and 5 of them being teenagers. I mean, I've literally got to purchase 4 vehicles over the next 5 years. Yeah, 4 vehicles in 5 years for the sake of these kids. It sucks. It's gonna be brutal, and these kids know that they're gonna have to fork out a couple of $1,000s to help with the purchase of it. And they're not getting a $10,000 vehicle. They're getting a $5,000 to $6,000 vehicle. Do our best as far as what we can find that's less than 10 years old and under 160,000 miles, and that doesn't look like shit. That's gonna do fairly well for them for the first 3 or 4 years of driving on their own. But it's gonna be brutal. It's gonna be brutal, and the car industry, the truck industry, has got to get their shit figured out. They've got to realize, they've got to come to the conclusion that there are lots that are full with brand new vehicles that have been sitting there for over 6 to 8 to 12 to 24 months, collecting dust with price tags at $60,000, $80,000. I don't
Is that a beer?
know. Probably, possibly.
Ugh,
It's a stout.
that's what. Ugh.
Yeah, good whiff of it. It's
No,
good,
I can smell it
it's
walking in
good
the
stuff.
door.
It's good stuff. You'd not like it.
I smell the yeast. I smell the yeast in it.
In stouts, it's very strong with the yeast. Yes,
Yeah, I
it
smell it.
is.
Ugh, light a candle.
Yeah, I agree, B&A. Yeah, the muscle car era must have been so awesome. One of my favorite. I mean, there's amazing muscle cars, and if you watch the movie Gone in 60 Seconds, you got to see quite a number of awesome ones. But the
Or do you
old
not know how to do it?
Chevy Nova. Can we keep it down and try to keep the door closed, if you don't mind? The Chevy Nova SS. That thing is one beast of a car. Here, let me share a good sample of that. Let me present. Share screen. There you go. Share. Check that beauty out. I mean, it's kind of got some 67 Mustang vibes, but it's honestly, for the price savings, you get that old Mustang vibes, but with a outstanding, one of Chevy's probably best muscle car engines in there. They basically took the well, yeah. This is an awesome car. If I was in my early 20s, in that time period, this would have been my car. Like, that's what I would have wanted. I could had a greater chance of affording one of those than I could a Shelby, the GT Mustang, the Shelby GT Mustang that they featured in Gone in 60 Seconds. Like, that's a gorgeous car, but for saving a couple $1,000s and getting just as amazing of a muscle car, this little Chevy Nova SS was freaking chef's kiss. Like, that's a gorgeous car, and the engine in that thing is an amazing engine. It's actually, this car is lighter than your Mustang GTs in that same time era. Had excellent performance. It was right up there in competing against the Mustang GTs. So yeah, the Chevy Nova, a very underrated muscle car in my opinion. Like, that's an awesome car. I would have loved to have one of those if I had lived back then in that time era. Really sweet car. Absolutely love it. I've seen, every time I see one of those I get more excited at a car show when I see one of those than when I see an old Mustang. Old Mustangs are like, there's plenty of them out there. But when you get a good looking one of these with a clean paint job, polished, everything spick and span, oh, like it almost makes me want to cry. It almost makes me want to cry. That was a really damn good car. Insanely lightweight too. Yeah, everybody put out what your favorite muscle car is. For me, it's that one. It's that one. I just I don't know why I get so excited for one of those. The only other one that I would get excited about is they're your Cobra kit cars. So you have to build them. So the only other car that would totally tickle my fancy, that I would be stoked to have in a garage if I ever had had the money, that kind of money to get it, would be this one here. Let me get to there we go. There's the picture of it. One of these guys. They had to be built. They were kit cars. And there was like 3 or 4 different motors that they would throw in these things, but they were like go-karts on steroids. Essentially, was what they were. They were unbelievably fun to drive. I've ridden in one. I've never gotten the honors to drive one, but I've been in the passenger seat, and they are absolutely nuts. They're just like, talk about making you giggle type kind of fun. Just when you're driving it is like, oh heck yeah. they're one hell of a car too. Really? The Impalas? I can see that, yeah, because there's so much. I mean, older cars in general, like there's so much more space um, under the hoods to be able to. Nowadays, they make cars to where almost even your basic mechanics have the challenge of trying to work on them, because they just try to make everything so tight fitting and so compact, and requiring special design tools in order to remove things in order to get to different parts that you need to replace. And so it just they don't want you working on your cars at home. Their need to have you be forced to take it to a shop and if anything, they want you to not just take it to the shop. They want you to take it to, if you've got a Ford, you take it to the Ford dealership. If you got a Chevy, you take it to the Chevy dealership in order to get many things, many parts replaced and things fixed on it, because you can't do it. You just don't have the tools or the the required finesse to be able to do things in your own garage, in your own driveway. Like, just now, today's cars now are way more difficult to try to get things done on your own. You pretty much, you're almost stuck with having to take it somewhere, and that's terrible. But speaking of knives, oh sorry Zorro, I did get a new knife today.
Where's the lighter?
There's lighters all over the place.
No, no.
But I got the Kaiser Beaver. Anybody else pick up one of these?
I thought you were going to talk about flashlights.
We can go to flashlights. But yeah, so I grabbed I do like knives, so and since this came in today, finally got this in the mail. Took forever. Thank you, Kaiser.
It came in from the Honest Company or whatever it's called.
I don't know. This came in regular USPS.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the new Kaiser Beaver. A solid little 2 3/4 inch bladed fixed blade in Nitro
I need a
V.
battery for that.
They did what? You need a new battery for this guy?
Yeah.
Oh, it's dead.
That would have been handy. I'm sure, but it was dead battery.
Did you have it in the car?
I had it in my purse and I tried to use it.
You just need to recharge it. It charges. It plugs in.
Does it?
Yes, it's the Olight rechargeable battery. What is it? Yeah, this is the i5R EOS.
That's my flashlight.
This is Mrs. Urban's flashlight that I gifted her, because she absolutely loves red, and the red and silver was really cool, and she loved it. She when I got it, it was not intended to be given to her, but she saw it and was like, "Ooh, that's mine." It's funny how that works out that way, doesn't it? Isn't it? Yeah.
I need a lighter. What kind of lighter do I need?
There's ones in the bathroom there.
Oh, in my drawer.
Yeah. We got lighters all over this damn house, and she can't find a lighter because she's not thinking straight. But yeah, so this is the Kaiser Beaver, 2 3/4 inch Nitro V. This is the micarta with the orange G10 liners. But I gotta tell you, I writ dyed the handle already. I literally, like, when I ordered it, I was like, yeah, I don't want the green G10. I want the because the green G10 one came with D2 steel, and being down in the south and with our humidity and the moisture and everything, I was like, I'd rather not deal with D2. So I opted for the Nitro V to get a little bit better corrosion resistance, rust resistance, and I like sharpening Nitro V better than D2. I don't know how y'all feel about that, but that's I'm not a big fan of sharpening D2. Nitro V is a nicer, well-rounded steel in my opinion. But but I went ahead and I dyed the handles, so they're like that brick red color that I very much like. It looks really, really good in person. Absolutely love that. But I've watched other. I know Javon got one, and one of the other big YouTubers got one of these, and they both got the G10 ones, not the micarta handled ones. Which I don't know why he would out of those two options not go with the micarta and Nitro V over the D2 and G10. But anyway, so one of them, I don't think it was Javon. I think it was the other fella that took the scale off, the handles off, to show what it looked like underneath, and talked about how you could paracord wrap it if you wanted to. I don't know how well the sheath retention would be when you if you were to paracord wrap it. That might mess up your retention ability, but yeah. Made it red, that dark red, and I really like it. I really like this for a EDC fixed blade that is fairly rust corrosion resistant and takes a good edge, keeps it for a good little while. But and it's a great small, like, you can stick your pinky finger in that hole. I don't know. I know some of us kind of wish that they wouldn't have done that big ass hole. I get the weight reduction of it, But and it's got jumping up towards the tip as well. So it's got jumping here and jumping there. Lots and lots of jumping. What the hell did you just light? A candle?
I lit a candle, but I lit a Q-tip to get the other wick because I couldn't reach without burning my finger.
Okay.
I used what I had, okay?
What? Explain that to me again.
I used a Q-tip to light the other wick because I couldn't get
Because the Bic lighter, you couldn't reach far enough down into the candle jar
without burning my finger.
without burning your finger, so you lit a Q-tip instead.
I lit a Q-tip.
Has anybody done that?
You get a Q-tip or a toothpick.
It worked, right?
It worked.
It worked. That's funny. Oh. Mrs. Urban got jokes today. But yeah, so this
One way to
it's
wax
a great little EDC fixed blade. I do not like this. I do not like this at all. Unfortunately, the way the holes are on it, I'm a big, as many people are, I'm a big fan of the Ulticlips. But this is the Ulticlip Slim, I think the 2.2. But it does not line up with the holes. The holes that are down here, where you can't see those holes, they don't. There's not enough of the cutout on the clip for those screws to go into the one hole that's on the Ulticlip. So I ordered the Ulticlip, the 3.3, the Slim 3.3. So I'll get that in a handful, in about a week because of how behind USPS is and Amazon is. Granted the fact that we've had this winter blast come through the southeast here, or pretty much from Texas all the way to the Carolinas. It skimmed across North Georgia. Yeah, I know Matthew got a little. Did he get a little bit of snow or a lot of snow? The pictures that my dad sent was very, very little, so I guess it was earlier in the day. I wonder how much he ended up getting. But yeah, I can't stand these big old belt clip deals. I hate these. The Ulticlip's the way to go. Yeah, Atlanta. Some parts of Atlanta got over 5 inches of snow.
Yeah, where our old neighbor lives, she lives in Dallas, Georgia. She got about 4 inches of snow.
That's crazy.
But she lives like in Dallas, Georgia, which is like west of Maryland.
An 81 Trans Am 350. I'm gonna look that up. 81 Trans Am.
I know what an 81 Trans Am is.
Yeah, we kind of got off on a tangent about sports cars or muscle cars. That was B&A's fault. Patrick made that comment and got us on that.
I had a 19.
Is it 81 Trans Am?
My mom and I used to have a 1989 Ford Pro 6-shift. It was pink.
350 T-top.
It was a pretty nice car. That's when Ford used to be good.
Yeah, that's kind of the general census that we've all had.
Ford was good before the 2000s.
That's a Pontiac, right? The Trans Am?
Yeah, Pontiac Trans Am.
That's what I thought.
My grandma had one.
When what car did the Butch and Cassidy have?
Oh man, look at Bryson City.
Or not Butch and Cassidy. Was it Butch and Cassidy? No. There was another movie. What was that movie? I can't remember. There's a movie that had a car that was very similar.
Look at
It
Bryson
might
City.
have been a Pontiac Trans Am.
It's Bryson City.
Yeah, that's where we were
I know.
Thursday,
Yeah, I know. I'm jealous.
last Thursday.
I'm jealous. I was good with the 1 inch. But look how good those roads are. Ain't nobody going nowhere. Oh, even your cousin Austin got snow. Damn, that's a lot of snow. It's up to their ankles.
Yeah, so there's your Trans Am.
Where does Austin live? Oh, he lives in Grayson, Georgia.
That's northeast side of Atlanta.
Yeah, they got about, it's up to their ankles.
Cool.
Yeah, that's a good for you.
Smokey and the Bandits. Is that what it was?
Oh, they're making a snowman.
Yeah, that's what exactly, Neil. That's what I'm thinking of. The Knight Rider. Smokey and the Bandits. Let me look at. That was a good show. Yeah, that was the exactly what it was. And they had the Firebird on it. On the hood. That was a classic. Hell yeah. That was a fun classic. I mean, I like muscle cars, but like honestly, at the end of the day, I wouldn't even if I had like even if I was a multimillionaire, I probably wouldn't own one. I wouldn't own one. As much as I like them, I wouldn't own one. Yeah. Thank you, Neil and Bluminati. Yeah, Bluminati was Smokey and the Bandits. Yeah, that was a good show, and that was a cool car. I think everybody who watched that show was like, "Yeah, that's a badass car. I'd want one of those." Oh, back in the day. Oh, did you, Palmer? You saw a nice Firebird at one of the. That's cool. Trans Am 1989. What did those look like? 1989. They look like those. Yeah, those are pretty slick. When I see one of those, I start to think of like that's a girly version of the DeLorean from Back to the Future. No? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But yeah, so let's go to the flashlights talk. Let's talk about flashlights. I know
Where's that battery?
we jump huh? I got it charging for you. I got the battery charging. But yeah, so for flashlights, I was looking at now. Here's my thought process, and I even reached out to G Ball because y'all know G Ball's got his sub channel, um, the prepper channel, where he talks about EDC gear and stuff for in your vehicle and whatnot, and for home stuff, things you might want to have or should have, what he recommends and what he's having fun playing around with. But my mind, the way my mind goes, as far as something for in the vehicle, something that is probably not going to, hopefully not need to be used, but maybe once or twice a year. something that you're just keeping for that random off the wall scenario of whether or not you have to go hike a couple miles up to a cabin because the roads are too slick and frozen over and you've got bald tires, or or you or the main flashlight that you packed on a camping trip, the batteries went out on them and you don't have a way to charge them or whatever, or replacements. So you grab your backup that you keep in your vehicle. That's the kind of thing that I'm looking for mindset wise. I want something. I would think that it would be best to have something that does not have a proprietary charging system. That is not a battery. That is an internal lithium battery that requires a proprietary charging system. I would want something that takes a standard battery, a battery like whether whether it's 4 to 6 double A's or 2 to 3 CR123s or that 18650 battery. That's what I'm looking for. In my mind, like that's what I want is something that is a lithium battery. So
Man.
rather than alkaline, I want it to be lithium so I don't have to worry about it leaking and corroding the flashlight. But I want it to be a battery that doesn't lose its charge almost completely in 6 months. I don't want to have it as something that I've got to have my Alexa remind me every 3 to 4 months to go charge the battery in the flashlight that I keep in the back of the wife's car. Like, I don't want that. I want something that takes a lithium battery that's going to stay 90% charged until I've used it 5 or 6 times or 25 times and worn out the battery. And then also I can just keep in the back of the car in that little compartment in the trunk an extra lithium battery for it that again is going to stay 90 to 99% charged for the next 3 to 5 years, that I don't have to worry about it. I want something that's going to be reliable when the random off ball times that I need to use it, that it's going to have a battery that's charged and it's going to work and it's going to do the job. So, and my preference out of those three options, I'd love to have one that is a that uses that 18650 battery, and it's just one battery, and then I can just buy two of that one battery and not have to worry about it. But at the same time, I'm okay with something that uses maybe 4 AA batteries, so I can get your Energizer lithium AA batteries and just buy a 4-pack, fill it up with that, and then maybe have 2 or 3 extras to throw in there. But yeah, that's the idea. So my criteria would be the whole battery one, that situation that I explained, and then 2, I want it to be over 1,000 lumens, and not just. And this is the tricky part where it makes trying to find the right flashlight that fits this criteria tricky. Is okay. So you get a flashlight that says that it's got 1,500 lumens, but that's on the turbo mode. And the turbo mode only lasts for about 20 minutes before it knocks it down to like 500 lumens. And when you're out in the mountainside where it's pitch black, 500 lumens is not quite enough when you've got a group of 6 people walking on a frozen road. You want more brightness level than that, right? So that's where the trickiness comes into finding something that's going to at least throw out that 800 to 1,000 lumens for at least 2.5 to 3 hours. That you can have a flashlight on and have it be that bright for that kind of length of time, 2.5 to 3 hours. As far as whether or not it's a tail switch or a button switch on towards the front, um, whether or not it's got that zooming feature where you shift the front piece on it to go to spotlight mode versus flood mode. I'm not. I personally don't care too much about that. I just want something that's on the low end cost wise, like under $35, that has provides that battery situation as well as puts the check in the box for the brightness, uh, long term brightness level, and and uh, and just works and is durable. So there's just in searching on Amazon, there's so many to try to comb through, and it's kind of been frustrating over the last couple of days. The hour here or hour there that I spent looking, trying to find something um, that puts that check in all those boxes. But those are the boxes. My mindset wise, those are the boxes that have to be checked. One, it has to take a standard common battery that I can buy Energizer lithium, and I don't know how everybody else is, but anti Duracell. I can't stand Duracell. I will not ever in my lifetime buy another Duracell made battery. I have a friend of mine that I used to do a bunch of whitewater kayaking with. Uh, that that used to work for for a Duracell um, disposal and refurbishing plant. So that like part of his job was to go through and test all the batteries that came in and determine which ones were able to be recycled and which ones just had to be disposed of, thrown away, properly thrown away. So that was his job. And he was like, when you run these batteries through the tests that they have, through the computer reading systems that they have, it, like he learned everything there is about these Duracell batteries. And he's like, I will never buy a Duracell battery. And he tried to explain it to me in his technical terms that I didn't quite completely get, but like I with our conversation I came to the conclusion that he's right. Duracell is garbage. If you're going to buy a standard battery, go with Energizers. The Energizers are much better built, are much more reliable, especially their lithiums. When it comes to the lithiums, I'm sorry, Energizers at the top. They're at the top when it comes to lithiums. Non-rechargeables.
So
Once
then,
when you get to the rechargeable batteries, that's a whole nother ball game, and there's certain liters within the rechargeables. But for non-rechargeable lithium-ion batteries, that you put in your regular devices, flashlights, remotes, controllers, whatever. Energizer's by far the cream of the crop, the way to go. So I did look at this guy right here because he's only $8. Um, I don't like how slick the tube is on it.
volume on the TV.
No,
Like two.
no. Just tell everybody to hush. That ain't gonna work. It is a little small. It's only 4.5, almost 4.5 inches. I want something like the hand, um, and I don't like how smooth the body tube is, but I do like the brightness levels, and it takes. The problem though is with this guy, as much as I like the price point, is it's got a pri how do you say it? I'm having a brain fart. proprietary battery, lithium battery, internal battery. It does not take any double A's or the 123s or the 18650s. It's got its own internal battery, and so that kind of doesn't check that box. This gear light here is an interesting one. Again, $25, so it fits the price point. Because again, I don't want to spend $100 on a flashlight that stays in the trunk of a vehicle and only gets used maybe once or twice a year. Like, I feel like that's a waste of money to an extent. So so this guy looks pretty good. I like the size of it. It's over, I think it's over 5 inches in length. I mean, they all pretty much have the same metal outer core. It's got good good texturing grip on it, or at least good enough. Better than the last one. And it uses 6 AA batteries. So with that, I'm leaning towards these guys, and I'm glad. I love how Amazon has what they've done with their website. I mean, like, other website companies should look at how Amazon does theirs. Like, Amazon just does such a good job in the fact that, and I've got the whole Honey app thing attached to it, so I can look at how price has fluctuated over time with each item. Honey's kind of, they're just the ones that I use. They're pretty reliable. They do a good job for the most part. But this guy fits the bill, and it'll take either 3 AAA batteries, or it'll take one of the 18650 batteries. So that's great. I can throw an 18650 battery in it, and then I can put in a little Ziploc bag 3 AAAs as my backups in that cell holder. And let's see, it gives you get 2 of them. They are a little on the smaller side. I really kind of wanted something a little more robust, easier to hold in your hand, less likely to drop and lose. But I'm willing to compromise that check in the box for the sake of the fact that it does the battery deal that I want it to do, and it has the brightness levels that I desire. Because it spits out where does it say what it spits out? Yeah, it's got a tail switch. It's got the zoom thing so that you can change whether or not your strobe to flood. Where does it? It tells the brightness at some point. I skipped over it. Where's the brightness levels? I want to know the brightness levels. Oh, that's where this one falls. It's only 500 lumens. Yeah, I mean, normally for me, like 500 lumens for the most part is fairly plenty on a little handheld flashlight. But when you're doing like that whole issue of I need a super bright light because I'm stranded and my car's damaged or I can't make it up the road that I'm on type deal, I want something that's much brighter. I want something that like fully lights up the road and my surroundings. I was looking at at this guy. It's a modular deal. It's got plenty of brightness. And what's interesting about this guy is you can throw either 3 of those 18650 batteries in there, or you can take out one of the tube sections and only put two of them in there, and that shortens the handle part of it. Again, by doing that, you change your the how long uh, the brightness levels last, the run times, but it makes it a little more compact, and that's kind of interesting. But there's mixed reviews and mixed feelings about that on how well that works out. Again, like with everything mechanical wise, the more moving parts you have, the more chances you have of something going wrong, of something breaking, something not working the way it's supposed to. So that guy, that Everbright's only 600 lumens. Here's a 900 lumen one for $20. And what does that guy take? Again, like, you know, this takes C batteries. C batteries are a little more pricey, but hell, you throw some lithium ion ones in there, it's not too terribly heavy and it'll last. It'll give you good run times. 900 lumens, 46 hours, high, low, and strobe. This might be a good contender for only $20. Again, I would not be putting alkaline batteries in it. Would have to absolutely be throwing lithiums in there. But for $20, that ain't a terrible option. It's hard going to your bigger brands. There might be a Coast flashlight. Let me look up Coast flashlight. See, I looked on Amazon. I don't think Energizer makes a lithium-ion 18650 battery. That's like a non-rechargeable, just a lithium-ion battery. They're Energizer lithiums at the 18650 size. They make them in the C123s, but not the 18650s. So this, I mean, again, it says USB-C rechargeable, but what kind of battery is in it? The problem you get with these rechargeable batteries is that with the proprietary batteries with proprietary charging systems, or even just ones that use the USB-Cs, after, if it just sits in a vehicle for 4 or 5 months, it goes from 98% charged down to like 60% charged, or even worse. And then you go out to a year. If you don't use this thing for a whole year, then you go to use it and it won't turn on because it's less than 20% battery, because it's decharged over time. It's just really hard to have any kind of flashlight or any of these electronics that have those kind of batteries. Over time, they decharge themselves to some extent, and a lot of your budget ones are worse than your big expensive brands. So this Coast light says 1200 lumens, 14-hour runtime. Does the spot and the flood. Here we go. And this is kind of the problem that I've run into along the way, is it has a high, but in good. I like this. This fits my bill. This puts that check in the box. At the high 1200 lumens, it'll run at that 1200 lumens for 3 hours. Not one of those lights that says, oh, it'll go for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then it'll kick back down to 500 lumens or 350 lumens or whatever. So yeah, it has a 3-hour runtime at that 1200 lumen. That's good. I like that. The medium is 360. That's not bad. I would like, ideally, I would want any and all my flashlights, whatever the high is, whatever brightness level that is, my medium should be at least 50% to 60% of that. So if it's 1200 lumens for the high, I want it to be at least 5 to 600 lumens for the medium. Hold on a second. I don't know what it is about these damn kids, but like when I'm home with them, I'm able to keep them. They tend to keep themselves at a relatively quiet level. As soon as Mrs. Irving gets home, they get super rambunctious, very, very loud, extremely playful. It's pretty bad. Let me see what you guys are chatting about. Oh, you did B&A. The one that I sent you. You know, I haven't carried. Where's my memorial? I gifted out that the more budget friendly one because I went and bought the high end one. I got this guy with the contoured titanium micro milled scales. Yeah, I haven't bothered to carry this guy in a little while. I might have to carry him tomorrow. I'll throw him in the pocket tomorrow. How about that? Um, the the other knife that I picked up is the large version of the Warren Me Pyrite with that green G10 handle. Yep, the green G10. So I got this guy. So I've actually been carrying him the last couple of days. Yeah, you know it's interesting because I don't remember who ended up getting it, but one of y'all has the blue handled pyrite light that I picked up, and then I gifted it to one of y'all. Ran it in one of the giveaways. Um, Waiting for the extra large version, and purely because I am not big on the FRM plastic. I don't know why. It's weird. I wish I wasn't picky about that, but I am. Again, I kind of hate that it bothers me. The FRM bothers me, but it does. It does. I don't know why, but it does. It's stupid. um, but size wise, as much as I wanted the large version, this much bigger version. Let me see. I can pull out the. I have the OG. It has just the aluminum scales. So there's your size difference. That's a pretty drastic size difference. Stacking those up to each other. This is the OG with the aluminum scales, and then this is the large with that green G10. Yeah, definite size difference. And the Pyrite lights were kind of like the in betweens, and honestly, I like the size of the Pyrite lights. Out of the three of them, after carrying this guy for a handful of days, yeah, for about 3 or 4 days now, he's been in pocket, and used a handful of times each day. I like the middle-sized one, which is not what I was expecting. I was not expecting me to like the mid-sized one. So not that I want that blue one back, but a part of me wishes that they would make the Pyrite Light, or somebody would make not just G10, but my Carta's the ticket. If somebody would make my Carta scales for the Pyrite Light, that would be the winner. That would be the winning combination to me. Absolutely. That I would buy that one and possibly get rid of both of these. If somebody would make the Pyrite Light, the 3.3 inch blade, or 3.27 or whatever it is. This guy's like 3.4 and a half, almost 3.5, I believe. I might be wrong. But yeah, so like the middle-sized one, the Pyrite Lights, that are a little bit bigger than this guy. Because this one's like right at like 3.1 inches or 3 inches blade. And the Pyrite Lights are a little bit bigger. And then this guy's big. I like the middle one. I just don't like the FRN, the plastic scales on it. I like the look of them. I just don't like the way they feel, like the way the plastic feels. It just makes it feel cheaper of a knife, and I have been spoiling myself for too long with fancier knives to be okay with the FRN scales. I just can't do it anymore because I'm a spoiled, rotten little prick. But yeah, so that's been that. That's that. Like literally, this guy and the Beaver are the last two knives that I've purchased over the last like month and a half. I'm at that point where I'm definitely at that point where like every new knife that comes out, I stare at for a while, and it's like, I've got like 3 or 4 other knives that are so similar to it in the ways that I would and then I see all the things about the new knives that I don't care so much for, that to where it just like it doesn't quite fit the niche that is my bread and butter nowadays. It's just that they don't work for me. They're just not 100% there for me to want to say yes to spending over $100 on. I just don't. And I'm also at the point where like I need to save, and rather than spend for Blade Show in Atlanta in the beginning of June. So usually last year, I've only been twice to Blade Show in Atlanta, but last year tickets came out at the very beginning of March. The year before, they came out at the very end of February. Last year is like the first week of March, and then the year before that it was like the last week of February. So that's the time frame that they start selling tickets for Atlanta. I believe they're already selling tickets for Blade Show Texas, which is in March. So if you want to go to Texas, I would say, I don't know, because I've not been to any other one other than the Atlanta one, because the Atlanta one is for sure absolutely the largest, the most has the most vendors and has the most attenders. It's the biggest out of the three. Is the Texas one in the middle, and then the Blade Show West the smallest, or is that vice versa? Is the Texas one the smallest? I can't remember. Again, I've not been to either one of the other two. The Moyaro is such a good knife. such a fantastic knife. Like the ergos are just like, I definitely absolutely prefer a contoured handle. And it's like, it doesn't have to be like a round, fat, round handle. It just has to be ever so slightly contoured. And that's exactly what they did on this model of the Moyarl. Um, and because there's the micro milling on the titanium, it gives you that great texture, that fun little texture, and provides a solid feel in your hand. And being able to choke up on that. It's such a good knife. And Miguron just does fantastic with their stuff. Did y'all see my post on Instagram of the geezer um, in the snow when I threw this guy in the snow on my trip? That was the morning that we were taking off. That was, I want to say, Saturday morning. But yeah, the snow geezer. Like this thing just begs because of the colors, the white and the light blues and the micarta, um, and then with this awesome lanyard that I added to it, and that little fun kamikaze old fart bead. Yeah, this thing just like screams, take a photo of me in the snow. That I love taking that photo. When I had that thing laying on that rock with just that thin little layer of snow on it, I was like, oh hell yes, this thing belongs in this environment. It was such a good photo. Really like that photo. But alrighty, so if y'all have any suggestions on a budget flashlight, so again, under $35, takes either double A's or the 120, the C123s or the 18650s batteries that don't require a proprietary charge system. That you can get as lithium batteries. So yeah. and then something that spits out that has a high lumens, over 800. Has to be at least 800 with at least 2.5 hours of runtime at that 800 brightness level, and just fills and fits good in the hand. Like that, those are my criteria for something that I would want to put. Yeah, I looked at the Nebos, dang Ross, the Da Vinci. Let me look that in. This Coast one is almost perfect. Nebos are pretty good. They I guess you're thinking of this one that's $45 on Amazon right now. Let me share. You talking about this one? Again, it's got that smooth body and like, I as like an EDC light, that wouldn't bother me so much, but it's something that I want to be the missus to be able to have while she's wearing a pair of gloves or something. Kind of want more, some more grip, some more traction. 2,000 lumens. See, it's rechargeable, but what batteries does it take? 2,000 lumens for 2 hours. That works. 2.5 would be preferable, but 2 hours ain't far off. The idea is that for this 2-mile hike that they did, if it takes them more than an hour, that they can shine their flashlight at that high brightness level for more than that 1 hour that it takes them to walk somewhere. Medium is 800 lumens. I like that. I like that it's almost half. It's pretty much 40% of what the high setting is. So I like that the medium setting is over 400 lumens, more than 400 lumens. And that's for 5 hours runtime. Yeah, I just the battery is the problem with this particular light. Ooh. Yeah, the lithium ion battery that it has is included, and it requires you to charge it. So again, that's an issue for me because of the fact that that it's probably going to sit in the car for 6 to 12 months, not ever being used. So then when you finally go to use it, is there going to be enough battery juice in it for it to work for as long as you need it to work? Here's one, but it's it's $55. I really don't want to spend that kind of money on something. This one only has 450 lumens. Yeah, I mean, just like trying to meet that criteria is tricky, because there's just so many flashlights out there. There's just so many, so many, and everybody wants rechargeable ones these days, as ones that they use on a regular basis. So like that's not what I'm looking for. So it makes it all that much harder. See, one rechargeable battery, or you can do 3 AAAs as your backups. Well, it gives you 3 hours. What is their rechargeable battery though? Is an 18650. I'm not gonna bore you guys any longer. It's already 9:35 my time. This has been a long live. I was actually not expecting this live to go this long. Oh, with getting down off of the mountain the next day, the dude that gave me the ride and gave us the ride back to the cabin, he went and hooked us up. He gave me his number, and no shit, I was able to call him the next day after we got everybody packed up and all our stuff into my little trailer that I have, because in the Honda Passport, when we put all 6 kids plus us 2 adults up front, and then my dog in the trunk, there's no room. There's no space for any luggage. So I have my little 4-foot by 4-foot travel trailer, a Harbor Freight travel trailer. I have a couple of videos on my channel about that trailer, what all I've done to that trailer. It's an awesome trailer. But let me get to it. Oh, come on, where's that photo that I took? Snapseed. So here's my little trailer next to the cabin steps there. It's a 4-foot by 4-foot trailer that they sell at Harbor Freight. It's a kit that you put together, and I've got 2 videos covering this trailer and all the benefits there are to this trailer and Harbor Freight and what you can do with it. It's just a really, really fun modular trailer that allows you to do so much and make it fit whatever your needs are. But great little trailer, and that's what we put all our freaking luggage in. All of our luggage, all of our bags, and the cooler, and everything that we had went into that trailer. And so the guy that gave us the ride up that night, he gave me his phone number, and I was able to call him the next day. And once we were ready to go and had everything packed up, he came and picked us up, and picked up my trailer as well. My rule of thumb is with utility trailers like that, all your small trailers, um, because you never know what situation you'll find yourself in, to where the vehicle that you're using to move that trailer changes. It might change. So I always keep the hitch receiver, or the hitch that the trailer attaches to, because that little trailer is that 1 7/8 size hitch ball, not your 2-inch. It's the 1 7/8. Um, which I wouldn't mind changing it out. You can buy the coupling that fits the 2-inch ball, which wouldn't hurt to do that, but it had been an issue for me. But I always keep the hitch with the trailer. So there at the cabin where the trailer was, I had my hitch. So if he, with his truck, showed up and he didn't have a hitch, I had the hitch that would fit and work for pulling that trailer. But he ended up already having one on the back of his truck. This dude is absolutely prepared. Total lifesaver for us. But he hooked up and he hooked up the trailer and brought all of us and the trailer with all our stuff, including my dog. He took us all the way down the mountain, the three and a quarter miles down to the bottom of the mountain, and I went and grabbed the car, which was safe and intact and everything, and drove down the car to the bottom of that 0.8 miles down to the main road, and we detached and rehooked up my trailer back onto our vehicle, and then was able to make our way back to my parents' place in South Carolina to spend the night with them and visit with them for half a day on Sunday, and then made it back home that Sunday night before I had to at least go to work Monday morning. But it all worked out, and I did give the guy a $20 bill. I insisted, to as a thank you, of a token of appreciation for the fact that he helped us out in a dire situation for us. He was pretty much the only person. Like, if it wasn't for him, it would have been really bad. Like, I don't know if I was going to be able. I mean, granted, the temperature wasn't getting above 30, 32 degrees that day, but the sun shining started to melt the stuff on the roads. So if I had personally, individually hiked back down to the car, I might have gotten the car back up to the cabin to hook everything up, but that was kind of iffy. I don't know if I would have been able to do it that day. So we were kind of in a rough situation where if it wasn't for this guy bailing us out, we might have had one hell of a time trying to get all of our stuff and that trailer down to the car to get on our way, to get the hell out of there. So yeah, he was absolutely a blessing. So I gave him $20 as an appreciation, to help him with the gas. For one, the gas that he used to transport us around both the night before and that day. And as a thank you, $10 for gas and another $10 to buy himself some lunch that day. So he was a really, really nice guy, really wonderful guy, and we'll be forever grateful that he was there to help us out. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys tonight. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the stories. It was fun looking at the muscle cars and flashlights and talking knives for a minute or two. But I'll catch you guys in other lives, and see. Can't wait. Can't freaking wait. Like freaking um Blade Show needs to hurry up and get here. Like I miss some of you guys, and I'm hoping to see some new faces this year as well. B&A Patrick, like dude, let me know what it's gonna take to help you out to get you to Blade Show Atlanta. Like I'll pay for your tickets. I'll do anything short of driving up and getting your ass. But I would love to hang out with you. I mean, it was a blast hanging out with G. Last year, I got to hang out with G Ball and his wife. They are awesome people in person and super fun to hang out with in person. Um, hey dude, or hey man, or whatever his YouTube name is. I'm so bad with names, I forget his personal name. But he was super fun to hang out with and walk around at the show. Um, yeah, I still have. I mean, Stevie's always a blast. Freaking Sharif is a freaking blast. Donnie Bless, I got to meet and hang out with for a good while at Blade Show last year that I didn't get to meet the year before. He's a super cool dude, really chill. He and I could have plenty of fun conversations. Um, yeah, so many good people. I don't know if Maddie's gonna make it this year, but it would be sweet if he could. I have not met Faction in person, and Maddie would. It would be so much fun to spend some time with him in person. But we'll see, we'll see. Yeah, everybody's got to do some planning. Got to do some planning, figure stuff out. Again, if I can help anybody in any way, my older son is coming with me. Cody is coming with me this year. That was my promise to him last year, that since he will be turning 16 in April, middle of April, that I would take him to Blade Show this year and give him as a birthday present, not only his birthday present to get to go and pay for his tickets for the show, but he gets $125 of my money. If whatever birthday money or Christmas money he's got saved that he can stack on top of that to purchase something, that's on him. But I will fork out $125 towards a knife or something for him. That's what my budget is able to do for that boy. But that'll be his belated birthday present. But yeah, y'all take care. I'll see y'all in for other lives, and look forward to next Friday. I will be here. We'll be here for live next Friday. So see you then. I'm out of here. Peace.